All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the third hour of the Steve Malzberg Show, and I just caught out of the corner of my eye CNN with breaking news again, and this time they say that the pilot is believed to have acted purposely in bringing the plane down. I believe that's what just crossed the screen, and they're using an aircraft now, as we know, to look for 122 objects that were spotted on satellite. We were told about that by the Malaysian Minister of Travel earlier today, and that search goes on. And one was supposed to be as big as a wing, so we will get to that, and we'll keep you posted on the latest on what they're saying about the pilot, possibly. But again, you know, these are all reports. The report here is that the pilot deliberately redirected the plane. Well, we know whoever was in charge of the plane or someone up there deliberately redirected the plane. We know that. So I don't know how much of a breaking news that actually is. All right, before we get to our guests and talk a little bit about Hobby Lobby and the myths that the left loves to tell about the Obamacare contraception mandate, I want to talk about a story which is very troubling, should be troubling to everyone. It's especially troubling to me because I live in the state of New Jersey. And the state of New Jersey, actually a Superior Court judge in the state of New Jersey, has decided that schools can sue children and the parents of those children who they decide are bullies. That's right. Now, understand where we're heading into here, into this surreal world of New Jersey, where in New Jersey already, and we've talked about this in the past, already the fact is that if you play high school sports in New Jersey and the referee or the umpire or the official thinks, keyword thinks, believes, another keyword, he or she hears a racial slur, a homophobic slur, an ethnic slur, a bigoted slur, well, not only do they kick the kid out of the game and the kid faces suspension or ejection or whatever, but they have to report it to the Civil Rights Division of New Jersey. This is because the referee thinks they heard this kid say something in a game. Okay, what if it was another kid? What if you heard wrong? Doesn't matter. That kid's name's going to the Civil Rights Division of New Jersey. And I asked the man in charge of this whole cockamamie campaign several months ago, I said, and then what happens? What are the repercussions here? What does this mean for the kid, for the future? What? He didn't really know. He had no answer. And I said, you know what? I said, you have a governor who excuses his outlandish behavior, his barking at people and yelling at people by saying, and I might have the mixed up here of the parents. He says, you know, I have an Italian mother and an Irish father. Now, it might be the opposite. And he uses that as an excuse to bully people and yell at people. And in his state, if a referee thinks a kid said something not so nice, that kid gets reported to the Civil Rights Division. What if the kid says, hey, I have an Italian mother and an Irish father? You should be able to use the governor's defense. And now, if a school deems that a kid bullied somebody, they could sue the kid and the parents. What is going on in the state of New Jersey? It's a darn good reason, another one, to move the heck out of Chris Christie's state, I'm sorry to say. All right, joining us now is Gabriel Malor. He is the attorney and award-winning blogger at Ace of Spade HQ, AOSHQ. And Gabriel, welcome, sir.
Hey there, how you doing?
Good to talk to you. I appreciate you coming on. Great piece that you wrote, and perfect timing, of course, as 6 lies the leftist media tells about the contraception mandate cases. And, you know, of course, yesterday, I want to start actually with a soundbite here. This is Crystal Ball on Al Sharpton's show on MSNBC.
So it really could lead to a cascading effect where the bottom line is your employer has control over what you are allowed to get in your health care, which is just, I think, to most people absurd. Employers and corporations don't have a religion.
All right, I mean, that's just a little bit. We could go on and on and on. Andrea Mitchell, Joy Reid, that whole network went nuts, especially the women talking about the Hobby Lobby case and making villains out of Hobby Lobby. What did you find to be the most prominently told lie by the media about the Obamacare contraception mandate?
The most prominent lie is definitely that this is a case about women's rights. There's just nothing could be further from the truth. Women will have the same rights to purchase and use contraception before the mandate cases, after the mandate cases. No matter which way the Supreme Court rolls on this, women will continue to have the right to purchase and use contraception. It's not about women's rights. What it is about forcing other people to pay for your contraception. And that's a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely. They phrase it and frame it as women's rights. It's women's health. It's a health issue. I saw a gynecologist on one segment on the news yesterday talking about how I don't want the government telling me how I should prescribe for my. Nobody's telling any of the. And maybe this is another one on your list. I don't want to overstep here or step on another issue on the list. But I mean, this notion that that again, women will be denied this. It's a women's health issue. You're absolutely right. It's all about the government forcing their morals and belief system on. I mean, are men provided with condoms? I mean, that's a health issue. I mean, you could get STDs, right, if you don't wear a condom. So what about men's health? I mean, it's just insane.
I agree with you. In fact, that is another issue. The companies here are simply trying to turn back the clock to, say, 2009. Right, the gynecologists, the women on these networks, I shouldn't use the term hysterical, but they really are being a little hysterical because we're literally just returning to the way things were in 2009 when there wasn't this horrible parade of trouble of businesses simply, picking and choosing insurance. It was such a horrible thing. Literally, we operated that way in this country for decades. And it wasn't this horrible disaster for people. It's just, they exaggerate. They exaggerate because they don't want to talk about what the case is really about, which is religious freedom. This is a religious freedom case. These companies simply do not want to be forced to violate their religious conscience. And they shouldn't have to.
Absolutely.
By the way, they should not have to give up their religion to operate in public. That's absurd.
I'm with you 100%. All right, Nick, give me another one on the list.
I'd say the next one would be the idea that corporations can't exercise religion is a big one. You see that a lot. They simply suggest if you're a for-profit corporation, you simply cannot have religious belief. You simply cannot have religious exercise. And that also is absurd. First of all, because the only thing distinguishing these for-profit corporations from thousands of non-profit corporations that are exempted from the contraception mandate is simply the idea that they make a profit. And there's nothing in the corporate form, like certainly when you sign up for a corporation, there's no line you sign that says, oh, and I give up all my rights to religion by forming a corporation. Literally, the Hobby Lobby owners, when they incorporated, they had a choice to make, right? They could have incorporated as a nonprofit, in which case this government would say, oh, then you're fine and you don't have to have the contraception mandate, or they could incorporate as a for-profit. They have the exact same religious belief. And the thing about the First Amendment and the thing about the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which is what this case is being pursued under, is it doesn't distinguish between corporate forms. It protects religious belief. And the beliefs here are the same, whether they're individuals or whether they're nonprofits or whether they're for-profit corporations. It's all the same belief and it's all protected under RFRA.
Right, and I'll tell you, you notice, since you watch the media so closely, that they're starting to distinguish. They're starting to say, well, even the court may rule that a family business, a small business, a family-run business might have religious objections and religious rights, but not a big corporation. So they're already making that distinction.
Indeed, I think they realize how absurd this position is. The Hobby Lobby mission statement, when they incorporated, when the Greens built their business, the mission statement specifically provided that they would operate their corporation in accordance with their Baptist religious beliefs. It's right there in the corporation's own mission statement. And the idea that, okay, when they were a small family-run business with just one store in Oklahoma, okay, maybe then they could exercise religion, but now that they're a very large and successful company, they can't. Again, it's absurd. Like, where is that line drawn? It's not drawn in law. It's not drawn in statute. Literally, they're making it up because they have nothing else to hang their hat on.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And you know what? The left doesn't, well, they don't care what they're doing here. It's taking a company a company that treats their employees so well, a company that is consistently paid above the minimum wage by choice, and they're destroying the company.
That is the choice that the Greens have been presented with. Either violate your religious conscience or be taxed, be fined an enormous, actually it totals millions upon millions of dollars for not complying. Like, that is their option, is to either violate your religion or essentially go out of business.
Right. All right, give me one more on the list of 6.
You know, another one, I've sort of touched on it before, was the idea that corporations are asking for something new. You mentioned the gynecologist who said, oh, I don't want the government to tell me what I can prescribe. Again, we're returning to the bad old days of 2009, where, you know, like I said, this parade of horribles didn't materialize. RFRA has been in existence for years. They keep saying, oh, the corporations want something dangerous and new, and oh my gosh, what could happen? Well, the same thing that happened before, which was basically nothing. People were not crying out in the face of all these corporations that were suddenly discriminating against them in 2009, and that's all that they're asking for. This isn't some wild new change. In fact, the change was the imposition of the contraception mandate. That was radical. That was new. That was the first time that these businesses were saying, on penalty of enormous tax fees, you must do what we tell you. That's the radical departure, not the businesses saying, hey, wait a minute, we didn't ask for this and we don't want to do this. That's one of the other big lies, is the idea that Hobby Lobby is the bad guys, that they're the ones that are impelling this issue to the fore. No, they're not. It was HHS and its decision.
You want to hear one of the most ridiculous things I heard, I forget who made this point, was, well, you know, you say that they shouldn't be forced to do something, you know, that would be seen as bad in the eyes of God and according to their beliefs, but don't companies fire people on Christmas? Don't companies fire people around Christmas? Is it that bad? Doesn't God frown upon that? I never heard such a ridiculous argument or analogy as part of an argument in a case like this.
Well, I think that goes just back to the very typical leftist disdain for anything business-related or profit-related or really economics-related. If you put an economic principle in front of these people, they wouldn't know what to do with it.
That's absolutely true. All right, Gabriel Malor, appreciate it very much. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, my pleasure. All right, he's a blogger, award-winning blogger at Ace of Spade HQ. Check it out. And this is, you know, look, the media is going to spin this. If this case comes down the way this case is supposed to come down, the way many of us hope it comes down, the media is going to go nuts. And the radical leftists, as we've already indicated, they're going to attack the church. It couldn't be trusted. It's a Catholic church, a majority Catholic church. How dare we have a majority Catholic church? You know, and this is what you get when you have that, and women's rights and the war on women and the whole thing. Where is it in the Constitution that a woman has a right to have me pay for her abortion pills? I mean, for crying out loud. Again, it's non-existent. It's not there. And this is a law that the president almost every other day changes by himself. And let's just hope that the U.S. Supreme Court makes the correct decision here. And I hope they will. When we come back, oh, you know it, you love it, the Malsberg panel will be here with Peter Morisi one more time and Congressman Pete Hoekstra again, back by popular demand, I'm told, right here on the Steve Malsberg Show.
We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malsberg Show.
Tonight